Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from CLASH Daytona. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Toyota, Captiva Spine, Foundation Risk Partners, and USA Triathlon. Our next guest, only one of our favorite people on the planet.
You say that to everyone, Bob, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Only to you, only you, Laura, because she's been at our CF Triathlon with the last 4 times.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we missed last year, but it was great to be back this year.
Pretty fun, huh?
Yeah, it was awesome.
And you like the new venue?
The new venue was brilliant. Yeah, really good. A lot more just convenient, inclusive. Everyone could just, from the hotel, roll across to the race start and all the activities. So, yeah, it was really, really great.
So what's always fascinating to me is just relationships and how they build in this sport. And here you are going off to do Ironman Australia in 2017. And this young woman named Lauren Parker is going to be racing there as her first pro Ironman. She had finished second in 25, 29 age group in Kona in 2015, went pro, but now she's doing her first Ironman Australia. She's Australian. And then not long before the race, she's paralyzed. And did you hear about it right away?
Yeah, I think I remember I looked at the start list and I saw her name, and I didn't know Lauren at the time, but I remember thinking I knew she was kind of an up and coming pro. Yeah. And I knew she was a good swimmer.
Right. So
going into that race, I was like, okay, she's kind of one to watch. She's going to be up there. And then the 10 days or before, I'm not sure how I heard, but just, the triathlon jungle drums and stuff. And when something like that happens, news gets out pretty quickly.
It's one of our own.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I get goosebumps now even thinking about it. And just heard that she's had this accident. She was in hospital. No one really knew what the situation was at that point. And obviously then over the next coming days leading into the race, we sort of heard that, she was probably paralyzed from pretty high up down.
Yeah. And here, you win the race.
Yeah.
You win the race, and then you go to the hospital.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just felt this, again, like I said, I didn't know Lauren.
Right.
We hadn't met, but I just felt this urge or need and connection to go. Like, she was meant to be on the start line with me. I think I'd have gone whether I'd have won or not, I'd have to say.
Right.
But yeah, I was flying out of Sydney, so drove back to Sydney and drove to the hospital, which was, meeting someone for the first time in those circumstances. And it was really, fascinating, kind of interesting. Like, I wasn't sure what she was like anyway, but then what she was going through at the time. And it was actually the day I think she'd just been let out for the first time, and she'd gone outside the hospital. And I think I said sort of when I met her, I said, oh, that must be really, it must have been great to get outside. And she was just like, no, it was horrible. Like,
really?
everyone was staring at me because it was still so raw to her.
So new.
Yeah.
So you've been there for the whole journey.
Yeah.
So watching and just connecting on that level,
yeah.
Right? You were both pro triathletes. You win the race, and it really, we all could switch roles with people. You could have got hit by a car. I could have got hit. We don't know where our life takes us. And that bond has never diminished. You guys have been like close ever since.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're in different places around the world, and she's now pretty much an international jet setter with her racing that I am with mine as well. So we don't cross paths that often, but we try and make the effort when we do. And I was fortunate to get out to the Paralympics with British Para Triathlon. As a reserve guide for the visually impaired athletes. But the bonus of that was that, okay, within the circumstances, I couldn't be on race course to watch Lauren, but I felt I was pretty much there watching that race, and just been at some of her other races. And she actually she was in Kona a couple of years ago. She gave me my medal and my lei when I crossed the line in Kona, a couple of years ago.
So what a bond. Yeah. That's pretty darn cool.
So it's been good.
And so for you, 2021, second at Lanzarote to Michelle Vesterby?
Yes.
By less than a minute.
Yes.
And that is only don't you think? You've done a lot of Ironman races.
And I've done a lot where
Is that the most brutal course?
Oh, yeah, one of the most brutal, for sure. Yeah, it's just relentless,
And you were, it's not like you were fading. You were
I was closing. I was closing and just ran out of road, yeah. But she, it was a great race for Michelle as well. So.
Yeah, but then Challenge Roth. You get to go against 2019 Ironman world record world champion Annie Hogg, and she wins that race. But you got second at Challenge Roth, one of our favorite events. Yeah. And so coming in here, I remember last year at this time you were here, and you were you had a broken collarbone, so you weren't going to race. but you were doing the relay,
The pro-am, yeah.
pro-am relay, and hurt your calf.
Yeah.
And you're on crutches. I remember seeing you on crutches. I'm like, there is not a worse place on the planet to be on crutches, because this place is mammoth. Anywhere you want to go.
For race day, when you're meant to be looking after the pro
Oh
athletes.
my God.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
I'll be there in a second.
Yeah.
I'll be right there. Yeah.
I'm coming. Yeah.
And so, how appreciative are you now to be here racing?
I'm appreciative when I see the team running around in the background, like
Yeah.
trying to get everything ready, and I'm on the other side now. No, it's good to be back. Like, I mean, you know, being friends with Lauren and coming to San Diego for the CAF weekend always puts things in perspective anyway.
Right.
But yeah, the last couple of years with obviously pandemic for everybody, and then I've had sort of collarbone injury and then the calf injury. So just this year, I was sort of getting back on the start line in Lanzarote and in Roth, and then coming back here, it's really cool. I mean, I raced this race 2 years ago.
Yes.
And then worked here last year, and then with injuries as well. So it's just a great team. Like, the venue's amazing. It's so different. The team are really great. They all look after you. They just create this really great great vibe, great atmosphere. They really appreciate the pros and make it really special and just really different. So
what did you learn from the behind the scenes? Because I don't think people have any idea what goes into putting this stuff on.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of hard work that goes on, and a lot of things aren't just as simple as, you know, athletes or whoever comes up with a question of, can we just do this and this, and there's a lot more that goes into that, and just getting it all sorted so that it can be as smooth as possible to the athletes. But also for me last year, it was like trying to put the athletes first.
Right.
Like, as an athlete, what would I want to have? What would make it easy for my life if I'm racing, and trying to get that in place so that it was pretty smooth for them.
And so is your season over after this, or you feel like, okay, I feel like I've got more races in me?
For this year, no. But I had a break after Roth.
Right.
So we're sort of I'm now sort of, I guess, building up into next year.
Okay.
I'd say a little bit out of comfort zone at this race. It's not probably plays to my strengths of flat, fast, short distance.
No, you like a little climbing.
Yeah, I like a little bit more gnarly stuff. So, but you know, it's good to push outside your comfort zone every now and again. And like I said, the team here are so good, and just good to get back and see people again and get in that racing atmosphere.
Was it when you moved to Australia when you got into the sport?
Yeah.
And obviously, because everybody was doing it.
I moved to Australia with my corporate job at the time, and
were you in the military at the time too?
No, I did a gap year in the military before university.
Okay, and what did you do in the military?
I was in the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers, but attached to an artillery regiment in. So
you got to
Germany.
shoot stuff?
We had ground to air missiles, high velocity missiles.
So you get to play around and shoot those things?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I drove a tank, and tanks are awesome. The faster you go is better, because you kind of hit a bump and then you miss the next 5 bumps because you're in air, and then you land again. And then, doing exercise. We went over to Canada, did a huge exercise over in there in Bathurst, and then, but a lot with the army, a lot of adventurous training, a lot of sports, and that sort of thing. So I mean, amazing experience. Still probably one of the best years of my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, is part of that because you're not going to be in it forever?
A little bit. And we had 4 weeks intensive training, whereas it's 48 weeks kind of to do the officer training. And we weren't allowed to be sent to any live war zones.
Okay.
So I guess you got to see the best bits of the military.
And people actually shooting you.
Without people actually shooting you. I mean, we were shooting, like, we went on exercise, and obviously I think I died 3 times, to be fair, on exercise, but it was a bit like a big game of Laser Quest.
Yes.
So but the experiences you learn, like the leadership, the teamwork, the respect, that sort of thing that
transfers to everything you do.
Yeah.
And so what was your corporate job when you came to Australia?
Yes, and then did engineering at university, and then worked for Shell, the oil company. So moved with Shell to Australia, and with friends from work, they were doing a charity bike ride, sort of 56 miles down the coast in Sydney.
Yeah.
Ride down, get the train back, and I was like, yep, I'll do that. They knew I did some, I knew I was sporty. So bought a bike the week before.
Of course.
Like a hybrid road, mountain bike, flat pedals.
You're ready for everything.
Pretty sure I didn't have any cycling kit kind of thing. And just really enjoyed it. And then, the same friends from work just said, oh, you should try triathlon because it is huge over there. Everyone does it. And it's, that's what you see people doing at the weekend in the parks.
Right.
So went on the internet and found a beginners group or a local club, Bondi Fit as it was at the time. And they had a beginners course running. So sort of signed up for a 6-week course and had a race at the end of it, a local race.
And you realized at that point, did you realize, I like this thing?
Yeah, well, we were doing the beginners course, and then there was another group within the squad that were training, and their sessions always used to be a bit longer, and it seemed a bit harder. And I was like, what are these guys doing? They're training for an Ironman. I was like, what's an Ironman? So, and because of being sporty, I kind of was like, I always wanted to do
what's
more
ever next?
and
Yeah.
stuff. So then as a beginner, sort of signed up for an Ironman, and also because I thought I was only going to be in Australia for 1 or 2 years with my job, and then I was back to the UK. So I was like, well, if I'm going to train for this Ironman or Iron Distance thing, I might as well do it when I'm in Australia.
Sure.
So did a full distance in my first year, as you do as a beginner. Ticked that box, crossed the line, nothing special, but did it, and then I'm going back to sprint distances.
Of course.
And went back to sprint and Olympic as an age grouper.
Did you win like 4 world championships or something?
Yeah, and then was lucky enough to win the 4
world championships.
4 world champs as an age grouper, and then slowly have moved back up to the distances.
Now, what is a family thing? Because you haven't been like an engineer, which is what you went to school for, forever.
That's right. And my dad was an engineer, my mum was a maths teacher, and 2 of my 3 sisters are engineers.
And you're a triathlete.
And So, they think I'm pretty mad, and I think, I think they'd like me to be closer to home a lot of the time, but they're super supportive as much as they can be.
Well, the nice thing is you can always be an engineer.
Yeah.
You'll always be an engineer.
Yeah.
So you can...
There's enough engineers in our family as well.
Exactly. So what this next year, what was schedule, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so, Roth, again, is always the first race that goes into my calendar. I've got the World Champs in St. George in May.
Oh, that's
so
right.
qualified for those. And then I'm just...
Now, is that good for you? That's probably a better course than Kona is.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah.
As I'm sure a lot of the pro women are as well, as it being something a bit different. And then, I haven't kind of looked at the back end of the year. Obviously, it'd be great to do Kona again in October, but we've got to work out how you fit in another sort of qualifying race around that.
That's hard when they've got 2 world championships, and then you have to still qualify for the second one.
Yeah.
That's
and because it was announced, originally it was February.
Yes.
Hence why I took a break after Roth, because we thought we needed to build to Feb, and then it got pushed back to May, and I was kind of already in my break, and it sort of went. I probably should have carried on through from Roth and raced another race.
Right.
October, November time. That's the way it goes. And I needed that break.
And you came to San Diego Triathlon Challenge.
Exactly.
Which is way better than a dumb race.
Exactly. There's always a silver lining.
So Ironman Australia, and I think that's always so cool because your first one was Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
And then you 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
So a 3-time champion.
Currently still defending champion.
That's right. They have not had it.
They've not had it since.
The longest defending champion in history of Ironman Australia. So next, will they have it? And we don't even know at this point. Have they announced?
There is a race in the schedule, but I saw something that it was only a half distance or maybe no pros and stuff like that. God. So, because I'm sure they're not really sure. I think we're still not sure.
No, with the whole
to try and get back over that side.
I'm
quite happy we finish it on a high.
Well, yeah, because
just leave it.
Hey, I've been Ironman Australia champion at 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, just carry on.
It'll be a 4-year. Yeah. So you just keep adding. So 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah,
hopefully 22.
That's right.
6 in a row without doing 3 of them.
That's exactly right.
I like that a lot. We should do that more often. When you look back at your races, is there one that sticks out? Is you're like, this is the best race I ever had? And maybe it wasn't even a win.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, Roth this year, coming second, albeit by a long way to Annie Haug. I mean, her performance was out-of-worldly this year. It was just amazing. I really don't think she's been given the recognition for just how good her performance was, because there was a shortened course, which was advertised.
Right.
It was 10K short because of roadworks, but still, like, the race that Annie did was amazing. But for me, going into that race, I'd come off the back of Tokyo. So we'd been in Tokyo, not being able to train hugely well, and it just had a a little bit of a rough few months. So went in with sort of pretty low confidence.
Right.
So to kind of come out and that race and come second, but sort of go sub 3 on the run and things like that was really, really special.
You're getting better.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's really hard. Like you never take for granted the wins that you have. And so, that first win at Ironman Australia is always going to be special. Like your first full distance win. Being able to win the second year wearing the number 1 bib.
That's always hard.
That was a really proud moment because we don't, winning firstly, but getting to go back to a race as a defending champion is a huge honour. And then being able to wear the number 1 bib, which the women don't get very often. No,
not very often.
That was huge.
Yes.
Then the third year really didn't expect kind of to win. And again, it had a really rough couple of months leading into that. Training was going well, but I couldn't get it out in a race, so my confidence was really low. And a few other things, sort of ups and downs with coaches and stuff like previous coach at the time. And so really went into that race sort of rock bottom, but against the local favourite, Caroline Steffen.
Oh, yeah.
Xena, the warrior princess, so to speak. And so the emotion of winning that one was massive. And that's why I don't know if there'll be a race that will beat that feeling.
Yes.
But then, again, I'd say I was lucky enough. I spent a lot of time in New Zealand. And so winning Ironman New Zealand meant a massive amount to me just from spending so much time there. And again, a great team. So it's hard to pick one race. But the race, I'd say Roth was pretty special this year.
So when you look at the state of the sport right now, and we've got what's going on here, all the CLASH events, and we're talking Watkins Glen and Atlanta, and actually Watkins Glen suits you, here and Miami, and then you've got Super League, and then we've got obviously what PTO is doing, and Ironman, and it seems like the sport's in a good place, and you've been sort of behind the scenes a little bit on the PTO stuff and here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. I love what's happening in the Super League.
Yes.
And I know they've just, I'm not so sure about the esports world championships, but I understand the need for it and I understand where it's going. And I do like the esport racing to some level. I don't think it replaces, but I do like what Super League are doing. I actually really like the team element that they did. It
was wonderful
recently.
Yeah.
I think they need to try not to overcomplicate things though, and that's the
short
thing.
Short it's just especially for the viewer. It's complicated.
That's it. And obviously Olympics and stuff like that is fantastic. I think, what CLASH are doing and also bringing in maybe some of the off-road elements and maybe some gravel or mountain biking, I think is pretty exciting, and just different areas like that. I do think I'd like to see more help on the longer side, like the endurance side, the longer athletes, the athletes that are the full distance.
Right.
I think a lot of the events are still focused around the ITU, the short course, who can cross up to maybe a middle distance and back down. And those of us that are kind of more middle to long are kind of
sort of a little left out a little bit.
to
because
find
there's
that.
New. There really aren't 140.6 unless it's Ironman. There's very
that's
few.
It. And I'd also like to see all the companies working together. Like, I still think for the better of the sport, all the athletes need to be a bit better at working together as a unit and as a voice, which is hard and it will take time. But also just the events and the organisations and the different governing bodies. If we could have a little bit more,
so small, sport.
more team between that, I think it would help.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree more. Hey, have fun on
Thank
Saturday.
You. Yeah.
Always a pleasure to see you.
Always.
So I see numbers all over your hands. Is that your
was,
workout?
Yeah, that was my bike session from earlier. And I realised it was then on camera, and I was like, I need to hide my hand.
No, people are like jotting down
what she's doing. That's
it was 10-mile repeats.
Yeah.
And it was like 40 of them. So
that's
right.
You
can go do that at home.
500 watts.
Oh, thanks, Laura.
Actually, I saw Starkey and he was reading my hand and he's like, is that your bike session? I was like, yeah, but those watts are just what you do in your race, aren't they? Like, this is like my spiking efforts. He's like, no, not anymore.
That's so funny.
So,
always a pleasure.
Thank you, Bob. Likewise.
Laura Siddall has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob, CLASH Daytona. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.